Stopping repressing your fear is the key to self-confidence. We look at fear as an enemy, as something bad that we don't want in our life. But if we look for a minute not out of this immediate rejection and hate of fear, and look, what is fear? Fear is an incredible energy that rises in our body when we perceive ourselves in some kind of danger. This energy is powerful and very, very, very intense. And many times it's connected very much to a life and death situations, to traumas that we had in our lives, and we are very shy of fear and we don't want it. But if we look at fear as what our body is doing with this energy, first of all, our body produces this energy. Fear doesn't come from the situation. Fear comes from our body's response. Many times our body responds with fear and our mind doesn't understand what is to be afraid of. And we only realize afterwards why we were afraid, or we actually provoked an old fear in ourselves and we somehow re-experienced it. Key to all this is to focus on fear as an energy that is allowed to flow in the body. Fear basically is a bodyguard. It wants us to stay alive. It wants us to run when we need. It wants us to fight when we need. It wants us to live. Now, we actually, when we repress fear, we deny the most life-giving energy that we have, that is fear. Fear on low level, on low volume, is excitement. Fear on very high volume is terror and panic. So we can look at fear and we can see that mostly, except from rare occasions of excitement, we try to repress fear most of the time. Our common response to fear, the way you deal with your fear, is something that you learned. Everybody that I know, and I taught thousands of people how to be afraid, never knew how to be afraid. We learned the common beliefs and attitudes of our culture, that fear is bad, it's the enemy, to be courageous is not to be afraid, and we try to overcome it, deny it, refuse it, avoid it, and do many, many kinds of tricks, except to just agree to be afraid. Now, it is difficult to learn to be afraid when your mind is designed not to be afraid. We constantly look for the safest way to lead our life, to walk between the raindrops of fear. And usually we cannot, because life is frightening. When we repress our fear, and it's almost a constant that we do, we take away a very powerful energy and very much the physicality of ourselves, because we become more conceptual than physical. When we are just in our minds, we are safe from fear. When we are in our body is responding to the fact that life is short and everything basically can kill you. The way we respond to fear with repression is actually something that we can learn to undo. We do a lot of efforts in our muscles, especially in the diaphragm and in the shoulder and neck, that don't allow us to breathe fully and wastes a lot of energy in this kind of constant chronic efforts that we do. We use our own energy to repress ourselves. We create an internal conflict that burns most of our energy. Instead of our energy going into the world and playing in the world, we waste it in an internal struggle with our fear. And we use in this struggle our muscle tension, the way we tell ourselves, the way we move to virtual realities, the way we don't breathe, the way we try to disconnect from being physical. All of those are responses to fear. Now here comes the question of what can I do? And what can you do is, first of all, to agree that you're repressing your fear, to admit that this is the situation. I grew up learning to do this. Everybody around me did that. They all still do it, but I want not to do it anymore because I can realize that I'm missing something in myself. This fear is me. I actually repress a part of me, and then I'm half of me, and then there is very little chance that I'll ever feel confident if I'm only half of myself. Next time you're in a situation where you feel that you're losing your confidence, you have here a few things that you can be attentive to. First of all, you lost your confidence, you're afraid. Jump immediately to the state in which you agree that you're afraid. This already will reduce some of the tension in your body. You're just afraid. So check if you're in a life danger. If not, start relaxing. Start breathing. Start returning to your body and become physical. Start to make your mind clear and start to observe the reality in which you're in, to become part of the world, not to disconnect from it. Now, if you are agreeing to feel your fear, the next point is that you really pay attention how this fear appears in your body, and you'll give it the freedom to move freely. I learned over the last 50 years of teaching people to be afraid that fear is a flow. Fear is an energy that, if allowed, moves in the body and moves the body. So if I can relax into this and I allow fear to flow, I'll find that instead of disconnecting from myself, I connected to myself. And now this strength, this energy, this excitement, this liveliness is me, not separate from me. And this is what you can do in situations that you feel you lost your confidence and you want to train to live well with your fear and be confident. If you try it, I would like to hear very much what happened and what experiences did you have and what questions do you have, and I would love to answer them.